I never thought I'd be the type of person who would lie to their family. Yet there I was, standing in our living room, about to tell the biggest lie of my life. I lost my job today, I said, my voice steadier than I expected. Meridian is downsizing the strategy department. My position has been eliminated. The silence that followed was brief but deafening. I watched their faces transform, shock, disbelief, and then something that broke my heart. Anger, not concern for me, but anger at what this meant for them. "What do you mean you lost your job?" my mother finally asked, voice rising. "How could you let this happen?" Let this happen, as if I'd carelessly misplaced my career rather than fabricated its demise. "But what about my senior trip?" Layla demanded, my 20-year-old sister's face contorting with disbelief. "You promised me Paris this summer." "And my gaming tournament entry fee is due next week," Rayan added, panic in my 18-year-old brother's voice. My mother stood up, packing our expansive living room that my salary had furnished. "What will I tell the neighbors? What will I tell my friends?" I watched them with growing clarity, as if seeing them truly for the first time. Not one question about how I was feeling, not one word of comfort. For 3 years since Dad died, I'd been their human ATM, working 60-hour weeks at Meridian Consulting to maintain the lifestyle they'd grown accustomed to. I was senior strategy director at 29, with the bags under my eyes to prove it. And now I had my answer to the question that had been haunting me: would they still love me if the money stopped? I hadn't lost my job. In fact, I'd been promoted last month, but they didn't know that part yet. "We'll need to make significant changes," I continued calmly. "I have some savings, but not enough to maintain our current lifestyle. We should start by selling the house." "Sell the house?" my mother interrupted, horrified. "This is your father's house." "Dad would want us to be practical," I countered, "and he'd expect us all to contribute now." "This is insane," Layla spat, tears streaming down her face. "I can't believe you'd ruin everything like this." That was when I knew I had my answer, and it was breaking my heart. "My name is Aaliya Shah. I'm 29 years old, and this is the story of how I lied about losing my job just to see who really cared. What I discovered would change everything. I never intended to become my family's sole provider. When Dad died from cancer 3 years ago, his final words to me were, 'You're the strong one, Aaliya. Take care of them for me.' A simple request that consumed my existence. The morning before my job loss announcement, I had stood in front of the bathroom mirror, barely recognizing the woman staring back. Dark circles shadowed my eyes. My once vibrant skin looked dull. When was the last time I'd done something just for myself? My alarm had blared at 5:00 a.m. as it did every morning. By 5:30, I was showered and brewing coffee in our spacious kitchen. The mortgage payment, $2,800, was due the following week. Another automatic withdrawal no one would notice or thank me for. My mother wandered in, already dressed for her book club. "Darling, I need to borrow your credit card for lunch. We're going to that new place downtown." I handed it over without comment. "I'll be late tonight," quarterly reports. She didn't look up from her phone. "Oh, and Rayan needs new soccer equipment. His coach says the cleats he has aren't right for the tournament. Can you order them, the expensive ones?" "Sure," I said, though my account was still recovering from Layla's spring break trip to Cancun. My sister strolled in, wearing designer loungewear that I'd bought her for Christmas. "Morning," she mumbled, reaching for coffee. "Did Mom tell you about the cleats? Also, I saw this amazing bag online." "Not now, Layla," I interrupted, checking my watch. "I have a board presentation in 40 minutes. "God, you're so boring," she rolled her eyes. "It's like money is all you care about." The irony wasn't lost on me. That day at work, my boss stopped by my office. "Stellar work on the Westfield account as usual," he said, "but you look dead on your feet. When was your last vacation?" I couldn't remember. "Well, you've got enough vacation days saved to take a year off," he joked. "Seriously, Aaliya, you're too valuable to burn out." Too valuable to burn out. If only my family saw any value in me beyond my paycheck. When I arrived home that evening, Rayan's video game blasted from the living room. Layla argued loudly on the phone. My mother entertained friends in the sunroom, laughter floating through the air. Not one of them looked up when I entered. "Hello," I said, setting down my bag. "Oh, hey," Rayan replied, eyes never leaving the screen. "Did you order those cleats?" Something inside me, something that had been bending for years, finally broke. For 3 days after announcing my fictitious job loss, I watched them crumble. My mother made tearful calls to friends, already cultivating sympathy and potential loans. Layla vacillated between rage and bargaining, offering to sell some designer clothes before withdrawing the offer hours later. Rayan retreated into sullen silence, emerging only to ask if we really had to cancel our cable sports package. Not once did any of them ask how I was coping with my supposed unemployment. That was when I knew the experiment had served its purpose. It was time to reveal the truth and change my life forever. "I have something to tell you all," I began that Sunday evening, having called a family meeting. They gathered with visible reluctance, bracing for more bad news. I didn't lose my job. In fact, I was promoted last month with a significant raise. The silence that followed was absolute. 3 pairs of eyes stared at me in confusion. "What are you talking about?" my mother finally whispered. "Is this some kind of joke?" "Not a joke," I said. "An experiment. I wanted to see how you would react if the money stopped flowing. I wanted to know if I mattered to this family beyond my paycheck." Layla was the first to recover, indignation flaring. "You lied to us. You put us through all that stress for nothing." "Not for nothing," I corrected her. "For everything, for the truth." "This is cruel, Aaliya," my mother said, tears forming. "How could you manipulate us like this?" I laughed without humor. "Cruel? Let me tell you what's cruel. Working myself to exhaustion while you 3 live like royalty, never hearing a thank you, being treated like an ATM rather than a daughter and sister." My voice remained level, but years of suppressed emotion gave my words a cutting edge. "Not one of you asked if I was okay when I said I'd lost my job. Not one of you offered comfort or solidarity. You blamed me as if my only worth was the comfort I could provide you." "That's not fair," Rayan protested weakly. "We were just shocked." "You were terrified of losing your privileges," I interrupted, "and that showed me everything I needed to know." I reached for my purse and removed a set of keys. "I've signed a lease on an apartment across town. I'm moving out tomorrow." My mother gasped. "You can't be serious. What about the mortgage? What about us?" "The mortgage is paid through the end of the year. Consider it my parting gift. After that, you'll need to figure it out." I stood up, suddenly feeling lighter than I had in years. "I've left detailed instructions for accessing your own bank accounts. You're all adults. It's time you started acting like it." "So you're just abandoning us?" Layla asked, her voice small for once, just like that. "No," I said softly. "You abandoned me a long time ago, the day you stopped seeing me as a person and started seeing me as a resource. I'm just finally acknowledging it." I looked at each of them in turn, my mother, who had transferred all her expectations to her eldest daughter after becoming a widow, Layla, who had grown entitled in the shadow of her sister's sacrifices, Rayan, who had never known responsibility because I shouldered it all. "I will always be your daughter," I told my mother, "and I will always be your sister," I said to Layla and Rayan, "but I will no longer be your bank." With those words, I walked upstairs to continue packing, leaving my family to sit with the consequences of their actions for the first time in years. By morning, their attitudes had shifted to desperate negotiation. "You don't have to move out," my mother pleaded over breakfast. "We can change, we can do better." "I know we've been selfish," Layla admitted reluctantly, "but isn't this an extreme reaction?" Rayan offered to get a job, his face serious for once. "I can help with expenses, you don't have to leave." But I recognized the panic of people about to lose their comfort, not the genuine remorse of people who understood their wrongs. "This isn't a negotiation," I said gently. "This is me choosing myself for the first time in 3 years." And with that, I loaded the last of my belongings into my car and drove away, terrified and exhilarated in equal measure. 6 months have passed since I walked out my family's front door. 6 months of rediscovering who Aaliya Shah is when she isn't defined by what she provides to others. My apartment is small, just 1 bedroom with an open kitchen and living area, but every inch of it is mine. Sunlight streams through east-facing windows, waking me naturally each morning. No alarm set for 5:00 a.m., no one's needs to consider but my own. Those first weeks were strange. Silence enveloped me like an unfamiliar blanket. I caught myself preparing meals for 4 before remembering I only needed to feed myself. The habit of checking my bank account with anxiety lessened as I realized my comfortable salary now served just one person. At work, colleagues noticed the change. "You look different," my assistant commented, more relaxed. My boss noticed too. "Whatever you're doing, keep it up. Your presentation yesterday was your best work yet." Slowly, carefully, I began reconstructing my identity. I enrolled in weekend painting classes, a passion I'd abandoned after Dad died. I accepted dinner invitations instead of rushing home. I bought clothes that pleased me rather than maintaining the severe professional wardrobe that had been my armor. My family's adjustment was more difficult. Weekly calls revealed their struggles. Layla had reluctantly taken a retail job but complained constantly. Rayan had discovered that video game tournaments didn't pay bills. My mother had sublet 2 bedrooms to make ends meet, her pride suffering more than her comfort. 2 months after moving out, I received a call from my mother that sounded different from the others. "I found your father's journals," she said, voice thick with emotion. "He wrote about his worries for you, Aaliya. He was afraid you would sacrifice your happiness for ours. He never meant for you to carry everything alone." I felt tears form. "Then why did you let me?" "Because it was easier," she admitted with painful honesty. "Because you made it so easy to forget you had your own dreams." Last week, I invited my family to dinner at my apartment. They arrived bearing awkward gifts, Rayan with a potted plant, Layla with a framed family photo, my mother with a homemade dish that had been my childhood favorite. The conversation was stilted at first but slowly warmed. For once, they asked questions about my life, my work, my new painting hobby. When Layla mentioned needing money for school expenses, my mother quickly shut down the conversation. "Your sister has been clear about boundaries," she said firmly. As they prepared to leave, my mother lingered behind. "The house feels empty without you," she said quietly, "not because of what you provided, but because of who you are." I didn't respond immediately, years of hurt not easily dismissed. "I needed to know I was valued for myself," I finally said, "not for what I could give." "I understand that now," she replied. "We all do." Yesterday was my 30th birthday. I hosted a small gathering in my apartment, friends from my painting class, colleagues, and in one corner, my family. When Rayan raised a toast, his words surprised me. "To Aaliya, who taught us all that love isn't shown through what you give but through how you see each other. We're still learning, but we're trying." Later, as I walked them to their car, a modest used sedan that had replaced the luxury SUV I'd once financed, Layla hugged me impulsively. "I'm sorry I never saw you," my younger sister whispered. "I see you now." I've come to realize that my lie, painful as it was, exposed a deeper truth. Sometimes we build relationships on transactions rather than love, on what we can give rather than who we are. My family is learning this lesson slowly, and I don't know if we'll ever fully repair what was broken, but we're trying. Tonight, as I stand on my small balcony looking at the city lights, I'm working on a painting, a woman walking away from a house, carrying light in her hands. Unlike my first draft, which showed only the departing figure, this version has something new, a thin thread of light stretching back, connecting what was left behind with what lies ahead. Some ties, I'm learning, can be reshaped without being broken. Some lights can illuminate multiple paths at once, and my light, the essence of who I am beyond what I provide, now belongs to me first, before anyone else. It took a lie to find the truth, and the truth has finally set me free.